Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the next item on the agenda is our closing ceremony, which will have closing remarks and a summary and conclusions of the 4 sessions that we went through in these 2 days. These remarks will capture quite a number of insights, a summary of insights for the preparatory conference of this 2023 Peacekeeping Ministerial, organized by Rwanda, Indonesia, the United Kingdom, and the Kingdom of Netherlands. Let me invite the first speaker to the podium to give his remarks. The first speaker is Mr. David Haeri, who was, I think, on the first panel as a moderator, the Director, Division of Policy, Evaluation and Training, United Nations Department of Peacekeeping Operations. David, where are you? You're welcome to the podium.
Distinguished delegates, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the closing of what I definitely believe is a really successful preparatory conference. And I really want to thank our hosts, the Rwandan government, for the fantastic organization and hospitality, the wonderful evening, our meals underneath that amazing tent next door. And I want to particularly thank our Master of Ceremonies for very ably guiding us through this. All of the colleagues who were involved on the Rwandan side for this fantastically well-organized conference, and particularly also to Colonel Deo for the preparatory work done at the Rwandan mission before we came here in New York. So thank you to Rwanda. And of course, thank you also to our co-hosts, the governments of Indonesia, Netherlands, and the UK for the critical role that they've played in enabling this conference to happen. And of course, thank you, all of our delegates. We've had really great turnout for this prep conference and also the preceding ones in the lead up to the Ghana Ministerial. We've had some 45 delegations here, as well as members of civil society and the press corps. It's really important. All of you represent really what it takes to make peacekeeping happen as this key, really, I would say, one of the crown jewels of the international multilateral system that brings together the member states and communities of the world. We learned a lot, I think, at this conference. Really want to thank the panelists and the moderators and actually all of our colleagues from the floor for very engaging, frank and interesting points. I think some of the key takeaways around the posture of the mission, the interrelationships between POC and Stratcoms, the capabilities, but also the mindsets needed, the role of media actors, host government, and the interplay on the ground between mandate implementation, expectations, reality, misinformation and disinformation, both as a result of lack of information, but also with intent and weaponization. All of these came out, and I think these are realities which our peacekeeping missions are facing on the ground. I wanted also to link what we discussed today to the Ghana Ministerial, as this is a preparatory conference, and to highlight some of the capabilities, indeed, which we will want to see. The Ministerial, at one level, is about pledging capabilities, the reflection of the fact that peacekeeping can only happen with the direct contributions and participation of member states. And in terms of strategic communications, amongst the capabilities that we would love to see member states seconding junior professional officers and other personnel with the relevant skills. We've heard a couple of times the need for real capabilities, analytical capabilities, and My good colleague Fran mentioned the dinosaur category. I will include myself in the dinosaur category. So we obviously, I don't know what the opposite is, the cheetah category or something, the leopard category, but we need those who are fast and quick and able to operate in that 15-second timeline that you described. So those people are out there, but we need them in peacekeeping, and member states can provide that to us. We also need to develop pre-deployment comms training, and even the last panel mentioned the development of materials in the Kingdom of Morocco, comms training to support public information officers, and to prioritize the deployment of skilled public information officers as part of member state contributions, and equip those public information officers with the technological tools which they need to work well once deployed in missions. And also, of course, we discussed the communication environment, the level of journalistic capability, and that was mentioned in the panel earlier today. Member states can also support initiatives in the host country area, in the area of operations, to build the capacity of local journalists. There are UNESCO projects, UN programs, and other development-supported programs that can help to build the media landscape in the countries in which peacekeeping is deployed to try to really improve the information that is available to communities. Linked, of course, to strategic communications is the end goal and core mandate goal of protection of civilians. There too, the Ministerial will be an opportunity for us to hopefully gain important pledges from member states, including air assets, aviation resources, and the necessary financial budgets provided at the New York level to fund those air assets. This also includes UAVs to support situational awareness so that we can respond in real time to unfolding POC challenges. Uniformed and civilian analysts to help us understand and analyze the situation. Gender sensitive, trained in gender sensitive analysis to understand protection of civilians, threats and responses in a gender sensitive way. Of course, the issue of skilled language staff was raised, and our Nepalese colleague just mentioned it also. And training of staff in protection and gender-related mandates. Of course, female peacekeepers came up a lot here, and I would definitely underscore the role that member states can play in providing female peacekeepers, not only in greater numbers, but in greater roles and participating in different ways throughout the mission. And linked to that is, of course, the idea of engagement platoons that can reach out to local communities, build community understanding of the mission, and also a closer relationship between the mission and the communities so that we can respond to needs, including protection needs. And linked to that, experts in civilian harm mitigation. So those are some of the areas. Of course, almost everything that is done to support peacekeeping and the pledges that are made ultimately can help those missions which have protection of civilians mandates. A lot came up here also about the need for peacekeeping missions themselves to perform adequately to meet the expectations. In Department of Peace Operations, we have an agenda for strengthening peacekeeping called the Action for Peacekeeping Plus, and we'll continue to stress the need for us and our peacekeepers to perform at the utmost levels. But the Ministerial will also be an important opportunity with member states to underscore that peacekeeping is a multilateral response, and we need to continue to enjoy the ongoing support which we do, I think, as an instrument of the UN enjoy. But we heard here and in the margins important questions are now in the air, let's say, about peacekeeping, where it's going. I must have been asked that question 10 times here. What's the future of peacekeeping? And the Ministerial, I think, will be an important opportunity to advance that dialogue, to understand how different member states are seeing this, particularly in the context of the Secretary General's new agenda for peace, which is part of the policy framework which he's put forward for the Summit of the Future. And peacekeeping is not the totality of that new agenda for peace, but a core part. And I think what that new agenda for peace actually says is that peacekeeping is a key tool. We need to continue to strengthen it, but we also need to understand what to do on the margins of the capabilities of peacekeeping, particularly as was mentioned by ASG Pobe just now, where peace enforcement is required. Regional organizations may be one response to those situations. And then more generally, how we can engage in a system of networked multilateralism with regional organizations and other partners to address conflicts in a variety of combinations. And we've already seen this in an ad hoc way. The UN deployed alongside regional organizations, supporting them, leading before them, coming after them. And I think what we want to try to see is this all put onto a more systematic footing, where, at least in my conception of it, I would see the UN continuing to have key capacities in peacekeeping and sometimes being called upon, but otherwise being more reliably and systematically able to engage with diverse ranges of partners deployed into the context, where politics will often drive which partners are acceptable and which can play a role. The new agenda for peace also talks about looking for, in that vein, nimble and adaptable peace operations and new models of peace operations. So I think we have quite a wide horizon before us, and the discussions here pointing to some of the areas of strength, but also some of the areas of weakness, I think will be a good guide for us to think about how we can strengthen not just UN peacekeeping, but the world's ability to respond to peace and security threats, using a diversity of tools in an effective way. To address conflict, not just in the national boundary, but it has been mentioned here, the regional aspects and drivers of conflict, be they terrorism, trafficking, organized crime, and other challenges. As I think about the start of this conference, when we discussed the evolving context, we talked about and we heard about the range of different adaptations that peacekeeping has undergone, and I think we should consider this moment as another moment where adaptation is required, and I hope that we will remain true to the spirit of those who have gone before us in meeting the challenges, coming up with new tools. There's no guarantee of success in peacekeeping. We go to difficult places. We shouldn't expect success every single time. If it was easy, we wouldn't be needed. But collectively, we are going to difficult places. Those who have studied peacekeeping have reached the conclusion that, in fact, there has been no more successful tool for intervention in peace and security that has been invented by the international system. That doesn't mean we succeed every time, but it does mean that millions of men and women and multiple countries have benefited and been allowed to transition from conflict to peace, and we need to continue to try to ensure that going forward with our partnerships. So I look forward to seeing all of you in Ghana. And I would definitely ask that you seek the highest level, ministerial level participation in Ghana. The registration for the Ghana Ministerial is fast approaching its deadline of the 31st of October. So I would definitely recommend those who haven't registered to do so. And once again, thank you all for your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. Our next speaker is Police Inspector General Krishna Multi, the head of National Police International Relations Division, Indonesia. Welcome to the podium, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, participants, good afternoon. Miriwe First of all, allow me to convey my heartfelt appreciation to the government of Rwanda for hosting this event. We have a very good time. Yesterday, I had a bilateral meeting with the police commissioner of Rwanda. I also had a chance to visited the Genocide Museum and Parliament Museum. In this regard, I would like to suggest you to visit that museum. It's very big lesson that can be taken from that museum. And tomorrow I'll be having a meeting with the gorilla on the mountain. Yeah, because 2 days, 3 days is not enough. Thank you. It's very beautiful country. My appreciation also goes to the government of Netherlands and UK as the co-host with Indonesia. And in this regard, I would like to take the opportunity to inform to all the PCC, especially police contributing country, that Indonesia is welcome all the PCC to join training, to get the joint training in Indonesia. We have a very beautiful peacekeeping training center. We have been conducting many international peacekeeping training. So please don't hesitate to inform us if your peacekeepers or the candidate for peacekeepers to join with the training in Indonesia. Excellencies, distinguished participants, as we are seeing multiple threats and uncertainties, the role of UN peacekeeping operation become more important than ever. So our ability to protect civilians will determine our credibility. Therefore, we must strengthen our collaboration in overcoming setbacks that could hinder our operations. Our discussion during last 2 days contribute significantly towards that end and towards the forthcoming UN Peacekeeping Ministerial in Ghana December. So thank you once again. See you in Ghana. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much, sir, for those remarks. The third speaker is Her Excellency Madrin Garlick, the UK Ambassador to the AU. You're welcome.
My thanks to our hosts, and I'm always conscious of standing in the way of people's lunch, so I will try and be brief. First of all, a huge thanks again to our hosts, the government of Rwanda, for their fantastic venue, their wonderful timekeeping, and also for their thought leadership, given their history and profile on the issues around protection of civilians. Also, big thanks to our co-hosts, Indonesia, the Netherlands, Rwanda, and of course the United Kingdom. And a big thanks also to Ghana, in fact, for offering to host the Ministerial. We're very much looking forward to it. I would agree with David that this is a moment of key change in peacekeeping. You can feel it in the room. We're grappling with issues of strategic context, with new tools, new environments, and how we can help peacekeeping evolve to meet that challenge. I also agree that it's only going to happen if we work in partnership with others. I'm the representative from the UK to the African Union, and their voice and engagement on this is also really critical. We're also facing new realities, patchy consent, multiple actors, belligerents, and peacekeeping does need to evolve. But I would disagree with the previous colleague from Morocco who said that we will be judged on our actions, not our words. I think we will be judged on our actions and our words. And I think this conference has really made us focus on how important that narrative is, both in delivering the mandate, but also helping host governments, supporting host governments, and sometimes challenging host governments around their responsibilities to protect. The other thing I'll take away, I think, and I'll leave it at that, is what expertise we have in the peacekeeping community on these issues already. We have far to go, we have a lot to learn, but this has been a great forum for gathering best practice around training, around expertise, and we should think about how we can build on that. Strong mission leadership is a key part of that, both at the civilian and the military level. We need to see leadership and personal leadership on issues of protection and strategic comms. My thanks again to our hosts and everybody here for your contributions, and have a great day.
And last but not least, His Excellency Ambassador Harold Ajeman, the permanent representative of Ghana to the United Nations. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, General. Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin by joining others to thank our host, the government and people of Rwanda, for the kind courtesies that has been accorded to all of us since our arrival in your beautiful city of Kigali. And equally, we are grateful to all the other co-hosts, Indonesia, the United Kingdom, and the Kingdom of Netherlands for this preparatory meeting, and as well for the great facilitation that has led us to have very excellent conversations on the topic of protection of civilians and strategic communication. On behalf of Ghana, I want to take this opportunity to make a few remarks on our preparations towards the Peacekeeping Ministerial in Accra from 5th to 6th of December. Indeed, as delegations here have roundly indicated, both yesterday and today, peacekeeping is at a crossroads, a critical crossroads at that. And we are all very much aware of the various challenges that have been raised by delegations in terms of the gaps between the expectations and the deliveries based on the mandates that are adopted by the Security Council. And as a member of the Security Council, indeed, I listened carefully to quite a number of the concerns that were raised, which we hope to take on board in our further engagement within the Council. Nonetheless, as I think was also made clear by the previous speaker, the Ambassador of the United Kingdom, peacekeeping is an important instrument that we all have within the multilateral context to stabilizing societies, as well as ensuring that we are able to help countries move or transition from conflict to peace. So as we look forward to the Ministerial in Accra, I would like to thank all the co-hosts for the preparatory meetings that have been held not only in Kigali, but also in other cities to help us further advance the efforts of the Secretary General's initiative in terms of the Action for Peacekeeping and the A4P+. And in this context, as the host of the Peacekeeping Ministerial in Accra, we carefully selected 5 themes that form the basis of these preparatory conferences. In Bangladesh, we had excellent discussions from 25th to 26th of June on the theme of women in peacekeeping, which was co-hosted by Canada and Uruguay in a virtual format and co-hosted by Ghana, the Republic of Korea, and the United Nations. We held on the 18th of July constructive engagements on the topic of mental health of peacekeepers, which we expect to lead to concrete policy results by the time we meet in the Ministerial in Accra. Hosted by Pakistan alongside Japan, we also held the 3rd preparatory meeting in Islamabad from 30th to 31st of August on the important concern of safety and security of peacekeepers. And our last preparatory meeting here in Kigali rightly focused on protection of civilians and strategic communications. Listening carefully to the panelists and participants, there are many relevant matters that have been raised since yesterday, which I hope can guide all of us to strengthen capacity for strategic communications, address misinformation, disinformation, and hate speech, and enhance the protection of civilians as a cross-cutting priority in all missions. I will now turn my attention to the Ministerial meeting in Accra, and I would like to seize this opportunity to thank all the stakeholders who have been working with us to ensure the success of the meeting. And in due course, we would indicate in detail all the support that we receive from delegations towards that meeting. As we have consistently communicated to your delegations, particularly in New York, but also in other capitals such as Brussels, as well as in our own capital in Accra, we are very much far advanced in the preparations for the meeting, and there's a dedicated website, www.accra2023pkm.mfa.gov.gh. And you can access this website for all the relevant information, including background papers on the teams. Also, we have issued the logistical and administrative notes to all delegations of the C34 committee since the 11th of October, and it contains all relevant information relating to the provisional program, the expected size of delegation, recommended hotels, arrangements of local transportation, how to obtain visa to travel to Accra, etc. As David indicated in his remarks when he was summarizing, the deadline for the registration is the 31st of October, and we would highly encourage that you register your delegations by that date so as to ensure that we can make the necessary facilitation required to ensure your participation. In terms of participation, we also would want to reiterate the point that has been made, that we encourage participation at the very highest level, the level of ministers of foreign affairs and ministers of defense. And we also look forward to the pledges that you are going to make. As you know, the objective of the PKM is to ensure that we're able to strengthen United Nations peacekeeping through high-performing and specialized capabilities and other pledges, as well as new and expanded capacity building, training, equipment, and other partnerships in key areas. In this regard, an early indication of your pledges will be very much appreciated. We encourage you to send your pledges to the Department of Peace Operations of the United Nations, and you can copy us as host country. And if you have difficulties in formulating your pledges, they are very much ready and available to assist you and to walk you through that process in a way that would be helpful for you to have a very clearly and effectively defined pledge before the Ministerial. Before I conclude, I wish to also indicate to you that on the 16th of November, we would be hosting in New York a hybrid meeting that is intended to more or less bring together all the different lessons that have been learned in the preparatory conferences, and we would be passing on that information to your delegation so that you can join online. I've also listened quite extensively to some of the concerns that have been raised relating to Security Council mandates, the issue of the new agenda for peace. As the chair of the Security Council Working Group on Peacekeeping, without prejudice to the mandate of the C34, I also intend in the month of November to hold a meeting with the members of the council where we would be looking at the aspects of the new agenda for peace that touches on peacekeeping and related to some of the nimble proposals that the Secretary General has made for peacekeeping. So let me conclude by indicating to you that we very much look forward to seeing you in Accra from the 5th to the 6th of December. The 5th of December would have two side events, one on improving environmental impact of peacekeeping operations, and the second on enhancing the participation of women in UN peacekeeping. And then, of course, the 6th will be the main program. So thank you all for your active participation in this preparatory conference, and also to thank once again our very generous hosts, the government and people of Rwanda, as well as the co-host, Indonesia, the United Kingdom and the Kingdom of the Netherlands for this wonderful session. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for those remarks. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the end of this conference, let me take this opportunity to thank all our panelists and speakers of the opening ceremony, the 4 sessions, and the closing ceremony for an excellent job. We cannot thank you more than what we have done. You've really done a very excellent job. Thank you very much. I promised that these discussions will be available to all of you on YouTube. And you just need to Google, place in the words, Preparatory Conference, and you'll have all the discussions available to you. So we did it deliberately. We don't want paper around. We want you to get everything on the internet to save our trees. So it is also my pleasure to acknowledge the contributions made by the Republic of Rwanda, the Republic of Indonesia, and the United Kingdom and the Kingdom of Netherlands, as well as the United Nations officials who helped us to put this together. I wish you all very fruitful deliberations in Ghana, and I expect it to also be equally well prepared, as our ambassador highlighted. Lastly, I would like to thank all our participants and delegates for their contributions in discussions throughout the conference, and I wish you all a safe journey back to your respective destinations. But before that, I'm reminded that lunch is served. So we will go back to our tent where we were yesterday and say our goodbyes before we set off to our respective destinations. I thank you very much, and God bless you. Bon appétit.